My entitled aunt demands that I take out my nose piercing, as she claims that I'm being a bad influence on the children at our Christmas party. But I decided that I was not going to take that sitting down, so I went back at my aunt in a way that she probably never expected. Here's what happened. So a few days ago, my family met at my great-grandparents' house for a family Christmas celebration. My great-aunt was there with her grandson, his wife, and their child. And let me just say, this particular aunt is always causing drama in the family. We'll call her Rachel. Rachel is not her real name. My dad took me to get my septum pierced for my 18th birthday early in 2023, so I've had it pierced for a while. I've only had the plain silver horseshoe I got back when it was first pierced for a while, but I recently got a new horseshoe piercing, decorated with a bee on one end and a honeycomb on the other. It stands out much more than the other one, so I guess Rachel finally noticed during our celebration. I was sitting on the stairs with my brother as always. Rachel was sitting on the floor across from the stairs with her great-granddaughter, who we will call Sarah for the sake of the story. Sarah is not her real name, and two of my younger cousins. She stared at me for a while, which I assume was because of my hair, because she's never liked the fact that I shaved the sides and got an undercut, but instead, she asked me if I had my septum pierced. I said that I did, and she simply asked me why. Before I could even answer her and give some kind of answer along the lines of, well, because I wanted to, she said, you know, they say that a woman gets her septum pierced so her husband can attach her to a leash and drag her around by it. And she actually said that in front of the three younger girls in the room. My aunt and uncle, who were sitting on the couch off to my left, were shocked. Since none of us wanted to cause a scene, we kind of just laughed it off. I was a bit snappy and I said to her, well, mine is a horseshoe, not a ring, so it doesn't matter. And then the topic was dropped for a while. Later, after we all ate lunch, Rachel cornered me by the bathroom after I washed my hands and demanded that I take the piercing out because I was being a bad influence on poor Sarah. Now, here's the thing. Sarah was too busy playing around in her new princess dress to notice anything anyone else was doing. So that is honestly just a complete lie. I'm a very anxious person normally, but this jerk of a lady has had something against me and my dad basically my entire life. So I was sick of her garbage. I told her to back off and to stop judging me and my decisions when she's the one that screwed up her own marriage so much that her ex doesn't like being referred to as her ex because it connects him back to her. Well, needless to say, she definitely did not like that answer because she gave me some nasty looks for the rest of the afternoon, but I didn't care. I'm already planning on getting some more nose piercings, and her stupid ideals are definitely not gonna stop me. Honestly, I commend the original poster for standing up for themselves and saying, look, just because I have a piercing on my nose doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It also doesn't mean you're a bad influence on any children around you. Like seriously, that doesn't make any sense in my opinion. Just because someone looks a certain way or has piercings or tattoos, or maybe their hair is styled in a way that you don't like, doesn't mean that they're being a bad influence on anybody. Maybe that just means they're expressing themselves in the way they see fit, and in a way that they enjoy and they want people to see. And on that note, I don't think there's anything wrong with the original poster having their septum pierced. It literally is nobody else's business, and if you don't like it, you can look away. It's okay. And I think the original poster has it completely correct. These really are stupid and outdated ideals in my opinion, because I feel that if you're judging someone based on the way they look, and you're deciding whether or not they're a good person based off of like a piercing or something like that, then if anything, you're the jerk if you do that. Because outward appearances like that or style choices are just not a determining factor of if someone's a good or bad influence. Because I've met plenty of people in my life who don't have any tattoos or piercings, who are some of the worst people I've ever met in my life, and I can say that confidently. And for this aunt to make that judgment call and be like, you're a bad influence on this kid, that in my opinion just doesn't make sense, and not to mention just downright rude. So honestly, I think the original poster handled this situation really well, and they fired back at them in a way that really shut this lady up. And hopefully in the future, she won't be so judgmental about somebody's appearance. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My entitled mother has pushed me too far and has completely ruined my New Year's Day by sending awful toxic messages to me through my family group chat. And now I'm at a loss and I seriously don't know what to do. So for a bit of background, my relationship with my mother is extremely complicated. Growing up, she did so many awful, cruel things to all of us, and these are things both mentally and physically. Now that I'm older and after lots of therapy, I've realized that she was the problem, and it wasn't actually because I was the worst person to ever exist, as she made me feel. So fast forward to now as an adult with my own family, and I'm doing much better. My husband and I have a great relationship, and I truly love him and my beautiful son. We also have a sweet puppy, and we have our first house. But I've had one of the toughest 2 years of my life. After multiple miscarriages and a difficult pregnancy, I had my son and also got my dream dog. Some people will get this and some won't, but my dog is my world, my solid through all of this difficult difficulty, and well, he passed away suddenly this summer. He wasn't even 2 years old, and he passed away in my arms. If you've ever had to hold the dog you love like your own child as he passed away in your arms, then you'll understand the trauma that it causes. I was very dangerously depressed, and after therapy and antidepressants, 6 months later, I was finally feeling happy again, like I could smile and maybe there could be a son again. I've had a good few weeks. Well, today I woke up to some awful messages from my mother. At just 1 in the morning last night, she had responded to a Happy New Year message I posted in our group, sharing a picture of myself with friends, clearly showing us in company. She told me to have a lovely night and that I look great. Then something changed. Between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning, she sent me a load of awful messages, saying how she was done with me, how awful I was, and how she's devastated I didn't call her for New Year's. And this was honestly all out of nowhere. I've been so good to her despite the history, but this Christmas I didn't spend it with them. I wanted to spend it with my own family, and I told them well in advance. They agreed that it was a lovely idea and said that they were happy for me, but clearly that was not the case. Now my whole New Year's Day was spent so furious about this. I want to leave the family group and I want to cut ties because I can't do this anymore. She is so awful and then guilts me into feeling like it's all my fault. I genuinely feel like I hate her. But the thing is that I live in a small country where people don't just cut ties with their mother without there being a very public and well-supported reason. I want to set boundaries, but then I don't want to be the reason my son doesn't see his grandparents. I also love my extended family and they won't want the drama. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Honestly, that sounds like a really awful situation. What started out as a message of like love and happiness quickly became something that clearly you're probably used to. And that is honestly so unfortunate because it sounds like your mom is awful. Like she treated you and your sister like garbage growing up, and now, even as an adult, that type of behavior is still happening. And that is seriously so unfair. Now, the original poster doesn't go into specifics about what country they're from, so there might be like some kind of like local culture that I'm just not aware of, but I know from my perspective as someone from the United States, if my family or extended family or anybody was treating me like that, I would not only leave whatever group chat you're a part of, but I would also really distance myself from the person who's treating me that way. So it really calls into question why you would want your son anywhere near your mom. Like, sure, you want him to have a grandmother growing up and all that. I totally understand where you're coming from. But in my opinion, that's a privilege that your mother can only experience if she claims up her act. And her cussing you out and saying all these horrible things, all in like a family group chat, that's just really toxic and really weird. And that's behavior that personally I would never tolerate. So honestly, I'm so sorry you had to deal with this, especially with all the rough things that have been happening for the last 2 years. Because your mom is being crazy toxic right now, and you definitely do not deserve that in the slightest. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for keeping a straight face when a gym teacher tried to embarrass me over a scheduling mistake? Here's what happened. Okay, so for a bit of backstory, this happened back around the early 2000s when I was a high school junior or senior in the Midwest of the United States. The way that physical education worked at my school is that you had to take 4 semesters, and 2 of them were in your freshman year, and they were separated between boys and girls. So there were 4 classes during each period: freshman boys, freshman girls, upper class boys, and upper class girls. They also had a coach assigned to each one. The first day of the semester in PE was a meet-in inside the big gym for orientation. On my schedule, it had it listed as Physical Education F with Coach K, and this would happen during 3rd period. Coach K is not actually this person's name. So it was the first day of school, and I was just an unpopular, average 17 or 18-year-old male who honestly was just trying to not stand out. When I arrived, I just sat in the bleachers and talked to my friends. A few minutes later, one of the coaches said, "Okay, we're gonna get started. Look at your schedule, and if you have Coach D on your schedule, line up in this first cone. Coach J is gonna be the second cone, Coach K is at the halfway line, and anyone who has me, line up here." So I got in line, and I was in front since I was about 3 feet away from the half-court line. Shortly after I got to my spot, I noticed that behind me was all the upper-class girls seated behind me on the bleachers. I could hear them talk and giggle about me for a bit, and I had a feeling that this moment will be embarrassing and will haunt me for the rest of the semester. This didn't feel right, so I tried to replay the last 3 minutes in my head to figure out where I messed up, because I was sure that he said that Coach K had the halfway line. Then I heard Coach K start off with his loud drill sergeant voice. He said to me, "What are you doing here? I think you're in the wrong line. Aren't you supposed to be with Coach J?" I tried to talk to him and be like, I'm not really sure, but Coach K interrupted me. He said, "I am wondering if you're up to something. I cannot morally, ethically, or legally allow you to be in this class and share the locker room with the rest of the girls here." Now, the whole time, I was just trying to keep a straight face and stay as calm as possible. So I calmly said to him, "I'm not trying anything, I just did what you said, here." And then I handed him my schedule. He takes a look and his face goes from having a big, cocky smile to then having one that was full of confusion. Coach K said to me, "Wait a minute, that's my name on there, and you're on my roster." He then tried to embarrass me again. "Didn't you notice the letter F on your schedule and wondered why I was there? You're bright, you should have spotted that." I responded by saying, "I figured the letter F was there to stand for the fall semester." Now, at this point, I can hear the girls laughing and enjoying every moment of this exchange. His face went from smiling to annoyance, and he called the other coach to explain the situation. After a minute, he comes back and says to me, "Okay, you can go with Coach J, and when he's done with you, meet up with me and we'll go to the office to get your schedule fixed." Now, I have to say, walking down the hallway with Coach K, we did end up having a laugh about it, so everything was cool. And just to clarify something, I don't think Coach K was being a jerk. I think that he thought the situation was funny and he tried to roast me for just a little bit. To be honest, I always had a sense of humor about myself, and I can't take it, and I laugh about stuff that is far worse than what he did. After that, I had a few other students ask me about what happened, and I just told them that the schedule was screwed up. The story did get spread around the school, and it didn't ruin anything for me at all. I mean, a lot of people thought it was funny, and a few people said they even had more respect for me, all because I embarrassed Coach K just for a little bit. This story is great in my opinion because something similar to this happened to me when I was in high school, and let me tell you something, I know exactly how that embarrassment feels. So good for the original poster for standing up for themselves and not allowing some teacher to walk all over them. I'm not sure if my restaurant job is a good place to work at anymore, because right now I'm starting to realize several red flags that are popping up, and it's making me second guess if I even want to work there any longer. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I'm a hostess at a casual pizza restaurant, and my job kinda sucks, but I want to know if there is any red flags in this job that I might be missing, because for the past year, I've been feeling really suspicious about it. First of all, I wanted to be a server when I first applied, and they made me a host because the general manager thought I was too shy to be a server, and I needed to work my way up to serving and open up. It's been almost a year, and I'm still hosting. Is that weird or is it normal? Because I've tried to smile and be louder and stuff, and they still think I'm too quiet, and customers have been rude about it, and it's annoying. I don't want to change my entire personality for a job I'll only have temporarily. In terms of side work, it honestly takes way too long most of the time, and people ask me why I'm still there. I have a salad bar to fill up, and if it's not filled up perfectly the way they want, I can't leave until it's full completely. Some nights they make me stay till the restaurant closes at 9 o'clock, even though I was scheduled to leave at 8 o'clock. I know us restaurant workers don't leave exactly at our time that we're scheduled, but I'm over here leaving a whole hour and a half every night. I think it's kind of ridiculous, and customers still come in and ruin the salad bar. Also, my coworkers and the customers keep complaining about how I do my job. They sometimes even try to call me disgusting or unsanitary in the way that I clean things. It also seems like, and maybe this is normal for hostesses, but the servers have a bad attitude with me, and sometimes I felt like they thought I was really stupid. I'm also really bad at phone call orders, and they never really properly trained me on how to do it. They only showed me how to do it once and then expected me to just know. They also wanted me to just answer the phone and put in phone orders, even though I'm not really sure of how to use the point-of-sale system. I always avoided doing it, and I was scared to do it because I was scared of customers getting mad at me, all because I didn't know what I was doing. The place also looks dirty to me, and it's an old-fashioned restaurant that's been in business since the late 1950s. Roaches are crawling on the buffet bar, and flies are on the salad bar, especially in the summer. And of course, the bugs and flies don't come in a lot, but it happens. The place always has a leak, and the air conditioning is bad, and it's never fixed. Now, to end things off, today when I was working earlier in the day, multiple ovens were not working, and only one was, and it was barely functioning. Pizzas were taking forever to come out, and customers were complaining and really angry. Meanwhile, the servers and managers were getting yelled at. The general manager was saying don't call him on his day off, and the associate manager just canceled the ticket to whoever was complaining so badly. It was just ridiculous to even be open in the first place. They didn't have enough dough to make pizzas either, and the general manager and the associate manager just didn't care. They wanted to stay open and just keep trying to fix the oven. I mean, the general manager wasn't even there. The associate manager did eventually come in and tried to fix it, but when my shift was done, it was still the same. Pizzas finally came out, but I mean, it was just so stupid how the managers just didn't care. The associate manager just kept saying, well, it is what it is, and it's like, what are you talking about? If the ovens aren't working, then we really should close, because now employees are getting yelled at, and they just didn't seem to care in the slightest. The manager that was getting yelled at just walked out, and that's why the associate manager had to come in. Also, customers were walking out, and since I'm the host, they told me to tell customers that were walking in about the oven issue, and I was honestly scared to do that, because customers would have gotten mad at me, but I mean, I had to do it, because it's either that, or else they would have gotten mad while sitting down, waiting, and not knowing. The entire situation was absolutely ridiculous. If the restaurant is going to be this unorganized and careless, I question if I should work there any longer. Also, one of the servers was in tears and was talking about quitting. There is also times where I come in and the sheet that should be made for me to sit customers in certain sections is not made. So sometimes I don't know where to sit customers. I mean, that's weird, right? But then they have the audacity to make me feel like a hot mess that doesn't know what they're doing at times. And it's honestly not fair. I've also seen a good amount of people quit after a few weeks or months of working there, or just get fired in general. I mean, nobody sticks around. They also throw in that we are a family, and that's a line that gets thrown around sometimes, and I'm pretty sure that's a big red flag. So honestly, after everything I said, is this just normal restaurant stuff, or is this place just one big giant red flag? It is my first job, and I've been thinking of finding another restaurant or another job outside of the restaurant, since it is just a temporary thing for me. I just got the job because I needed the money, and this is the only job that would accept me. Plus, me wanting to try serving and my general manager won't let me do it is what's really kind of frustrating to me. I talked to them about it, and they say they will someday, but they're still working me up to it, and I just feel strung along. Plus, I want to be better at socializing and not be so awkward socially, and I thought serving would help me out with that, but maybe I just need to find another job, because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Yeah, based on what you described, this job sounds like a mess. Like seriously, this place is full of red flags, and you identified quite a few. For starters, it's not totally unusual to have a restaurant that is really high pace and high energy. It's also not unusual to have customers that just straight up suck. Like some of these people are just terrible people. They come in to eat and they're gonna treat you and everybody else like garbage. And that's just the way it is in the restaurant business. There's not much you can do about that, and you kind of just have to deal with it. Also, when it comes to like taking phone orders and using the point of sale system, I think you could like pull your manager aside and be like, listen, I don't know what I'm doing and this is really a problem. And I think with practice you can eventually catch on to it. But those few things are like the only things about this restaurant that can possibly be managed, because everything else is like a walking hazard. I mean, there's roaches and flies all over the place, and we're talking like around the food. Like this place does not sound clean at all. And based on what you've described, the managers just gave up. They literally don't care. They're nowhere to be seen. The general manager didn't even come in when all the ovens broke, which by the way, they really should be there to coordinate that. And also the other manager just walked out, with the associate manager basically not really wanting to do their job either. So from the top down, there's like no leadership. Nobody knows what anyone else is doing. And it honestly all sounds like absolute chaos. And more so than what you would normally experience in a restaurant already. Like waiting staff as well as like the people in the back cooking the food. Everybody across the board is always busy. They're always hustling and they're just trying to get their stuff done. And while it is a little bit of chaos, it is controlled chaos. It might seem like nobody knows what they're doing, but normally people are like on board and they do their job. But what you've described is like the complete opposite. The management doesn't care. There's health code violations. The equipment is breaking down. Servers and other staff have terrible attitudes towards you and everybody else. And it sounds like the turnover rate is absolutely through the roof. So to answer your question, is this place just a walking red flag? In my opinion, it absolutely is. Like for starters, this general manager is never going to make you a server. I'm just going to say that outright. He keeps saying that they'll get to it eventually because he is stringing you along, hoping that you'll just leave him alone so that he can focus on other things. Like he does not care about your career advancement in the slightest. And if you're the newest one in the restaurant experiencing that, then you can bet the person who's been there for like 5 years, they are also running into that brick wall as well. But the one line that I think really made my skin crawl is when the manager said that we are a family. Like that phrase is like the biggest red flag, because most times that phrase is used like a weapon, where management will guilt trip you into doing stuff and giving up vacation time just so you can cover their shifts and they can go off and do whatever they want. Because for the record, no, you are not family. You are coworkers and that's it. You are there to make money and make rent. That is it. It doesn't matter how many friends you have there. They are not family, and that job is not your whole life. So I know for a fact if I was in your shoes, I would be finding another job. This work environment sounds incredibly toxic. It sounds like a nightmare to deal with, and I just don't see this as anything more than a dead-end job. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out Easy Mode. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.